Welcome to another episode of the Ironman Insider Podcast, presented by Morton, and I'm your host, Matt Lieto. Grace Thek has been a familiar name in professional triathlon for years, steadily building her career through persistence, consistency, and resilience. With history as a physiotherapist, Grace has worked her way through more than her fair share of injuries and setbacks, but these last few seasons, it's seemingly been coming together. Heading into today's conversation, she sits atop the experienced Oman Ironman Pro Series standings, putting together one of the most consistent campaigns on the circuit. We'll talk about the long road to get here and what she's learned along the way and what's fueling the best racing of her career. Grace, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, all good. I'm excited for this chat.
Sweet. Excited to have you. So where are you at? We know you're not too far away from, or not too long back. You're in Placid racing. What are you up to now? Recovering well?
Yeah, I'm actually in Los Angeles right now. My husband's from here, so I use it as a base during the Northern Hemisphere summer. So I'm just here. I've had 1 week completely off, basically sitting on the couch for most of the week. And then, I'm going to jump back into some training this week.
Awesome. And is that your standard post Ironman? Just kind of chill. I know some people, I was never one of these people like get into like an hour run 2 days after and like do that thing. I'm like, no, I just need to like sit back and watch some Netflix and be chill. Is that kind of your vibe?
Yeah, I'm pretty new to the Ironman area. So I guess I've only this is my third full Ironman. So yeah, all times I've just had at least 1 week off. I think my first race I had 2 weeks completely on the couch, and then last time was probably a week and a half. So I'm gradually bringing it down, but I think a week after it's good mentally and physically. I think having a break from thinking about triathlon is also nice, and I think helps me in my next build.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You've got to, you got to fill the buckets, both the mental bucket and the physical bucket to be able to empty them out in training for the big races to come. And, what's next on the, we know we're going into world champ season, but you got anything coming up before, we hit those races?
At this stage, I'm kind of going to play it by ear and see how I feel over the next few weeks. I have penciled in Northern California 70.3. It's a relatively close race for me. It's drivable. So that's an option just to test the legs out and use it as maybe a bit of a training hit out or a brick session that I didn't have to do by myself. So that's something that I might jump into I think it's in 3 weeks time. Otherwise, all focused towards Kona.
Awesome. Well, that course is going to be sweet. If you haven't been in that area, it's definitely worth going. It's the course will be fun, and the surroundings of that area of Northern California is pretty exciting and a nice little road trip. I'm a big road trip fan, so I think you'd appreciate it. The first 3 or 4 hours.
It could be quite. Yeah, I heard it could be quite hot though, so. Might be good preparation for Kona in that way.
Yeah, totally. So tell us about, first Placid experience. That's, just talked to Martin Van Riel not too long ago, and I've raced there as well. And it's like, that's one of my favorite race courses. How'd you like racing up in Placid?
Yeah, it was my first time at Lake Placid, and it was gorgeous. It was super beautiful, lovely location to have a race. It made the hurt a little bit easier, I guess, out on the race course. But it was probably one of my favorite race courses I've done. Obviously, I'm pretty new to the full distance. I haven't done a whole lot, but even if we include all the 70.3 races, it really was beautiful, and the atmosphere out on the run course, especially in the town area, was just unbelievable. It kind of gives you a little bit of a boost and helps you get to the finishing line when you need it.
Totally. Me and Martin were talking about Placid is amazing. The course is amazing. The spectators are great, but there's this kind of gnarly juxtaposition on the run course where you've got all these people and it's amazing. And then you get out on River Road and you're like, where'd everybody go? Why am I so lonely?
Yeah. You just get like the hardcore fans out on those roads who've like ridden their bike out there. But other than that, it's pretty quiet, and you're with your own thoughts, especially in that second lap, things get a little bit dark.
From personal experience, it gets pretty dark out second lap on the river road for sure. And then all you got to do is run up that hill and pass the finish line. But yeah, so there's some mentally brutal sections of that course, but pretty epic all in all.
For sure. And the bike course was unbelievable. And obviously, being a smaller athlete, I really like climbing. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed the hills on it, but I definitely felt like I probably overbiked and paid for it a little bit on the run.
Dude, it's so hard not to on that race, right? Because it's also like the not hilly sections are still like they feel pretty fast and it feels good to ride maybe overbike. Like everything is kind of set up for you to overbike that course, right? So it's pretty hard
Exactly.
to hold back. But so yeah, how was that race for you? I know we learned, as you said, you're new into the Ironman racing. We always learn things from every race that we're out there. What do you think what were the takeaways from that experience this last week?
I guess there was a lot of takeaways. It wasn't, the race that I had planned for, particularly on the run. I think that's an area of the Ironman that I'm still trying to figure out. I couldn't really figure it out at Texas and not at Lake Placid. It's just learning to run a marathon off the bike, I think, and making sure that I don't go out too fast. I think with both races, I got a little bit excited in the first K of the race. And I think in Texas, I ran a 3:44 first K. And on this particular race, in Lake Placid, because of the downhill, I ran a 3:41 first K. So yeah, went out a little hot, given that my goal for both races were around a 4:10 pace. So yeah, I think that's probably a learning that I can't afford to do that in Kona. But I think just pacing the first couple of K of my run are important lessons, but also every race is different. I picked Texas, which, had the humidity aspect to it. And then Lake Placid, obviously, with the hilly course and probably overbiked a little bit. So I think, yeah, just sticking to my own pace and not worrying too much about other people around me is probably a good takeaway lesson from both of the races. But at the end of the day, I think all Ironmans are completely different and you're going to encounter new obstacles. So just have to kind of go with the flow and trust the training. So I think having a good build into Kona, focusing on some heat training, and then obviously pacing strategy on race day and fueling strategy are going to be key to having a successful race there.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like it's harder to some extent when you have more experience, like the amount of 70.3 racing that you've done, obviously with a bunch of wins and podium finishes over that distance. You're used to racing, right? Where in Ironman, when you start Ironman, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, but like it's hard to like race. You're like, nope, I got to do what Grace can do, and I've got to like just put the blinders on. And the fact that there's somebody passing me, I just need to ignore that. Like, is that the part that is a little bit difficult? Is that you're used to kind of being a racer, and you kind of, when you learn the Ironman distance, maybe it's harder to be that racer?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I've been racing the 70.3 distance since 2018. And so with that one, if you overbiked, you don't really pay for it as much on the run.
Yeah.
And you can get away with a lot more with the shorter stuff, but with the longer stuff, you really have to be patient. And I definitely thought the more Ironman distances that I did, the easier it would become. But I think, in fact, it's actually harder because you're pushing the limits a little bit more. You're seeing, if I can bike a little bit, a few more watts here, then perhaps, I'll have a better race. But, looking back, I think it hasn't worked like that. My first full distance went really well. And then this year it just hasn't gone so well. And I think because I've been pushing the envelope maybe a little bit more than I did in the first one, where I raced really conservatively.
Yeah, and it's hard, right? Because the first one, you probably went in with less expectations and just like, okay, I'm going to do what I can do. And I mean, the other part that we can't ignore is that, I mean, the women's professional field is kind of bananas right now, right? So like you're racing these women that are pushing the boundaries, and to be able to compete against them, which you're a competitor, you want to get on the podium, you want to win races. You've got to lock horns with people that have that experience and have found maybe that edge, earlier maybe than you have as you're new to that distance, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think with the more that I do, hopefully I recruit like accrue more experience and then be able to put together a race that that is more complete. But yeah, I guess I'm still learning, so I have to consider that a lot of my competitors have had a couple of years in the long distance arena, so it's going to take me a little bit longer to learn the ropes.
Yeah, yeah. And so, what was your like on the positive takeaway from Placid? What do you think you were most pleased with your race out there?
I think out of the three disciplines, the bike was for me a really strong bike. I probably, yeah, as I said, I probably pushed a little bit too much. I think I was hitting 70.3 power for almost all of the race. So I paid for that. But I think that was a positive. It's been an area of weakness for me. And I felt like having a 10-minute deficit from Paula on the bike was actually a really decent ride for me. So I think just figuring out how I can run well off a bike ride like that. But yeah, that was probably a positive. And then nutrition wise, everything I think I've dialed in with nutrition. So I'm slowly getting a little bit more carbs in the system, but yeah, feeling pretty good about that. So that's a good positive, I think, going into Kona.
Yeah, and I would say I'm glad you pointed that out. If you're close to 10 minutes behind Paula on a course like that, you're doing pretty good.
I'm doing well.
You're doing pretty
I feel
good.
like I've lost that much time over 70.3, so over a full distance, I'll take it.
How'd you like the line or the cord under the on the swim course where you don't have to sight, you just kind of get to swim over the thing? Is that sweet?
Yeah, it was really nice on the first lap, but the second lap it was a little harder to view the cord just with the age group is already on the course. So I kind of had to, swim to the inside of the buoy, and it was a little bit hard to see the line from where I was. So I was sighting a little bit more and just making sure I wasn't going to hit or swim into any of the age groupers. But yeah, for the first lap, it was really nice. It just means that you can put your head down, swim a little bit faster. And because I was alone for the whole swim, it was quite nice to have the line for the first lap.
Yeah, you can just kind of settle in. And it is funny how different the first lap is from the second lap there. Because it's like it can be a little bit of chaos that second lap swimming
Yeah.
through folks.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought it would be more chaos than it was. It actually wasn't too bad. I think most of the age group is kept to the left of the buoy and
Yeah.
most of the pros went to the right. And it was only probably in the last 100 or 200 meters that I had some really fast age group men just like absolutely plowing past. But yeah, other than that, I thought it was yeah, pretty good for a two lap swim course with the age groupers.
Yeah, that's sweet. So, you say the bike has been feeling better, and I've doing a little bit of research and obviously commentating on your races. Um, it seems like finding a bike fit that's proper for you, and you're one of the smaller athletes out on the circuit, and seems like that would be frustrating to try to, you're trying to get the most out of yourself. You see everybody else at the wind tunnels and getting custom bikes and all this stuff. And you're like, I'm trying just to find one that fits. How are we on that? And how has that journey been?
Yeah, it's been a long journey. I think since I started in the sport, it's been hard because I've taken the smallest size in many brands and it's fitting me and I'm like 5 foot and it's also fitting someone who's like 5'7". So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense that we could be on the same size bike. And for me, it just means, yeah, it's been difficult to kind of really dial in the aerodynamics and trying to find, you know, different parts to kind of add to the bike to make it lower on the front end. But I was really thankful to partner with Quintana Roo last year, and
Sweet.
they actually produced an extra small bike that I rode for the first time in Happy Valley in a race situation, and then obviously in Lake Placid. And they've gone kind of above and beyond to help me find and create a bike that works for my size. So I'm really happy with where I'm at the moment. I don't, my search for finding a smaller bike has discontinued because we've finally got it.
Dude, how epic does that feel to have a bike brand like be like, we'll make you a bike.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. The team there have just gone above and beyond, and yeah, I'm just so thankful. Obviously I was on their small sized bike last year in September when I headed to the headquarters, and they took my measurements and determined kind of what I would need for an extra small bike. And yeah, just within a few months, I get a phone call saying they've made a extra small bike. Obviously not just for me, but made available for the public, because they realize that I'm not unique. There's other people who are my size who are looking for bike options, and there is a market for it. So for them to identify that and then actually put into action to make a bike is just unbelievable. And then obviously at the other end of the spectrum, they made the extra large bike for those who are struggling to find big enough bikes. So yeah, the fact that they're doing that for their athletes is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's sweet, and rad that you are able to take advantage of that heading into big season. And speaking of big seasons, it seems like you've found kind of another level and a more consistent level over the last 18 months or so. What's kind of clicked for you as far as that goes, and like how you've attacked that training, or maybe in recovering from little niggles being a physiotherapist? Tell us a little bit about how that's come together.
Yeah, I think for me, mainly the positive, I guess, trajectory of my results and racing over the last few months has probably just come down to consistency. I was obviously plagued with injury, and that is what led me to the sport of triathlon. I was a college runner, and I spent a lot of time cross training, and then I decided once I finished college that I would move into triathlon, and that's I haven't looked back since.
Yeah.
But I think over my whole career of doing triathlons, I've had a lot of niggles, and I still encounter them from time to time. But I think for about 18 months, all I did with my running training was just run. I didn't add any workouts in, kept it pretty conservative. I would run 2 1-hour runs a week and a 90-minute run. And I tried to do that for as long as possible to get consistency, because prior to that, with injuries, it was kind of an up and down trajectory when it came to my running, and then it was impacting on my performance in a race. And so, this year is probably the first year that I've been able to start back in some intensity once a week. And I think that has really helped my running in the triathlon. And then as it goes, just more time on the bike and a few more years. And that is a slower improvement, but I think it's getting there. And, I'm not the top cyclist in the triathlon, but at least I'm trying to, minimize the deficit as much as I can. And I think having a bike that fits certainly helps, and just dialing in the training. I think doing the longer stuff has meant that my volume has gone up in my training. Probably 2 years ago, I was not really averaging more than 18 hours a week of training. And I think this year it's unusual to get a week that's under 20 hours. I've hit a few 27 to 30-hour weeks in the build to Texas and into Lake Placid. So I think that overall that volume is helping with my performance as well.
It's really hard to be able to get to the point where you realize, okay, I have a strength as a runner, but this consistency isn't coming. I need to just put runs on the board and run 3 or 4 days a week, be consistent. And I think it's hard for a lot of athletes to get there. I know I had to get there as an athlete. I have some clients that have had to get there. What finally clicked with kind of your knowledge of your training, or maybe your confidence in your training, that we need to try something different and just start running and have 18 months or a year of consistency, and then that will get us to a new level of durability?
Yeah, I think I was just really frustrated with the cycle of being back to running for a couple of weeks and then having some niggle mean that I'm out of running for a week. And it was just the inconsistency that was kind of taking a toll on probably my mental health as well, because I just love to run. And so to not be able to run, it was a real struggle. And I think it was a bit of a gamble, because I wasn't really sure how that would impact on my performance in a race. But I knew that I had many years of running in the legs, and that I didn't take that much to have a decent performance. So I was hoping that it would go in the right direction, and luckily it did. I raced for a whole year, and to 18 months really, and was just easy jogging. Maybe I'd add in some strides race week just to kind of get a feel for going a little bit fast. But I think also to consider was I was racing quite frequently. So I tend to race like 10 to 12 times a year. And those sessions, I guess those races are in a way like a little threshold session. So I was getting some workout in, but it was in the race. So it wasn't outside of the race. But yeah, I mean, it takes a little bit of a hit to know that you can't run fast in training because you're a bit of a risk. But I definitely think it paid off and made me more of a durable athlete going forward. So we're very careful about adding a little bit of intensity now, but the key is just consistency and logging week after week of running. And, you know, there's still moments where I encounter little hiccups and make use of like the lever system and other ways to manage my load. But overall, I think, it's had a positive influence on my racing.
Yeah, and it seems like having that history of being an elite runner and maybe even moving to the Ironman distance maybe makes it a little easier because and don't take this the wrong way because I say this about it's harder where the pro fields are going now with the speed you guys are doing, but I imagine nothing you're really trying to do in at least Ironman distance racing and probably some 70.3 racing in your head is actually that fast of running, right? Compared to what you're used to. You're
exactly.
like, oh man, I know I can get out and do it.
Yeah, it just feels like an easy kind of long run, the pace. Obviously, I'd like to be running faster over the marathon, but I still haven't dialed in too many decent marathon runs. So I think, the fact that it's not so intense during a marathon in an Ironman, it means that there's, not much that like a few faster sessions are going to be able to help with.
Yeah.
It's more about durability at this point.
Yeah, totally. And how much has your history as a physio kind of helped you be able to kind of figure these things out? And is there times where I imagine at times could be a hindrance because you're like, you know too much, or has it all been a benefit for you?
I think I usually say it's like a blessing and a curse at the same time, but I think on reflection, it's probably more as a blessing to know my body. And I think I probably would have known that anyway without being a physio, but because I've had so many injuries over the years, I've kind of learnt, what is serious and what is just a little hiccup that I just need to take a couple of days rest. So I definitely think having that physio background is important and allows me to kind of not only listen to my body, but actually know the science behind what's going on and timeframes. But at the end of the day, I also do see a physio and have someone else being the external viewer. Because I think if you're treating yourself, it just doesn't work so well. It's good to know when to pull back, but I think having someone else oversee it gives me a bit of a clearer picture as well, because you can just be so absorbed in your own issues that you're not thinking clearly. And I think having someone who's wise and can see the whole picture is really important. So I definitely think it's probably more of a blessing than a curse, but sometimes knowing too much, I'm like, I wish I didn't know that. And I just push through a little bit more, but I know in the long run that it's the smartest thing to do.
Yeah, no, there's probably a little bit of do as I say, not as I do that you need to get out of the way by having somebody else looking at your program as far as physio goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Sweet. So obviously it's been pretty consistent. I shouldn't say pretty consistent. Like the fact that you're leading the Experience Oman Ironman Pro Series, that's a big deal. How does that feel? I know you've got a lot of races on the books right now, but you're in the lead, and I don't know. Would you have expected that at this time starting the year?
I don't think I would have expected it. At the start of the year, my key goal was to qualify for Kona, and so I had popped in some of my favorite races, that being Geelong and Oceanside, and knowing that they were a Pro Series race, and then targeting hopefully my Kona qualification in Texas, which I was lucky enough to secure there. And I thought, once I get halfway through the year after Texas, I'll kind of make a decision on whether I pursue the Pro Series or not, because obviously that would involve another Ironman, and being new to Ironman, so I wasn't sure how my body would tolerate doing 2, let alone 3 Ironmans in 1 year. So I approached the season like I'm not going to completely write off the Pro Series, but I'm not going to completely commit to it. So it was after Happy Valley actually that I decided to give another Ironman a crack at Lake Placid and pursue the Pro Series. And it wasn't an easy decision, actually. I was sitting on the fence a lot of the time, flip-flopping between the two options, just knowing that my body has a pretty long injury history, as we've discussed, and just wasn't sure whether it would be a wise decision to do Lake Placid and also Kona. But at the end of the day, there was something drawing me into it. And I think at the back of my mind when I entered the season, the Pro Series was something I was, considering. And I thought, I'll jump into the Pro Series and give it a crack. And I am surprised I'm at the top of the series, but at the same time, I have a 5th race on the board, and a lot of the other athletes have 1 to 2 races left to catch up. So I think we'll have a better indication going into Kona after the next couple of Pro Series races and Nice as well. So happy to be at the top for sure, but I know that it's probably going to be pretty short-lived. I did some maths actually yesterday on where I'd sit if I took my worst 70.3 score, which was the Oceanside score, because Taylor absolutely rolled me in that race. And so I think I think I'll probably be sitting around the top 8, and that would be great if I could maintain that after Kona. But anything happens, and I think it will really come down to Kona and who performs, who finishes, who has a good race, who has to walk. So it'll be interesting to see, and hopefully I can have a good race there. But I also have a 5th race on the board, which I'm sure not too many people will be going into Kona with an extra score up their sleeve. So, if I need that, hopefully I don't, but I've got that option as well.
Yeah, and you've got lots, as you said, and no, obviously lots of points up for grabs in Kona, so that helps. And yeah, the Taylor effect when it comes to points is can be a little bit brutal at times, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's been a few races where I've hemorrhaged a lot more time than I would have liked. Texas being another one with Solvi and Taylor pushing it at the front of the race, and then obviously hitting the wall in Lake Placid and losing some time on that run didn't help the series points. But, it's part of racing, and, everyone experiences, moments that, maybe in hindsight they could have been a little bit better, but it is what it is. And I'll take the lead going into probably Nice, and I'm sure then it will be all changed up after that.
Performance runs on fuel, and carbohydrates power endurance, in training and on race day. Fueling well isn't just about racing, it's how you train harder, recover better, and build the adaptations that lead to stronger performance when it counts. Morton's patented hydrogel technology delivers the carbohydrates you need while staying easy on the stomach, carrying fuel through the stomach to where it's absorbed, helping reduce GI issues often caused by traditional sports fuels. And it's available on course at all global Ironman and Ironman 70.3 races. Considering, like you said, didn't plan to do the Pro Series, are you still able to, in those races, just focus on the race? Or are you still thinking about like points and who's ahead of you and that? And is it a good thing to have this extra thing to think about? I know sometimes it's distracting for people, and the more outside of our heads we can get, maybe the better. Or is it, has it complicated things for you?
I think once I'm in race mode, I'm really just thinking about myself and how I can get to the finishing line as fast as possible and sticking to my own race. I think it's easy to get caught up, I guess, in Pro Series points and all that, but I tried to eliminate that from my mind, especially, the first 3 races of the year, or 4 races of the year, I had no intention really of doing the Pro Series, so it wasn't front of mind. And even in Lake Placid, I think the only time I thought about it was the last maybe 5K, where I was like, I need to just keep putting one foot in front of the other, because I need to get to the finishing line to bank some Pro Series points. But I knew at that point I was hemorrhaging a few points. I was going a little bit backwards with the run. So yeah, I try not to think about the points too much while I'm racing, and it's just a pleasant surprise afterwards to hear that I was in first place. I think Haley had mentioned the day before that if I finished the race that I would be the leader of the Pro Series, but I didn't really give it too much thought until afterwards, and I saw it pop up on Instagram. So yeah, focusing on my own race has been key this year, and I think thinking too much about the Pro Series is just not going to help on race day.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good mindset to have, and it is good to have that benefit though of the Pro Series in, as you said, in those last 5K to be like, because some people don't realize as a pro, it's it has been in the past. It's when you finish doesn't really matter. It's I finish in front of this person. This is my paycheck. We go home. Where now it's like, okay, you maybe learn a little more about the distance because you have to kind of push all the way through.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, it is motivation in the last 5K. I guess every second matters. So, I don't want to, maybe walk this aid station. I want to get to the finish and hemorrhage as little time as possible. But yeah, it is, I guess, an extra thing that you could fall victim to thinking about. But I use it mainly in motivation to get me to the finishing line in the very end of the race, but not so much throughout the race and the dynamics. I think with an Ironman, I'm learning that you just have to race your own race. So I think going ahead with other people would, throw me off my own race strategy.
Yeah, and so speaking of, you got to race your own race over that distance, and the fact that you said your first race of the distance was your best because you didn't have as many expectations. How hard is it to go into Kona with, I would imagine, a percentage of that as well, where you're like, okay, I just got to go in and get my first one under the belt, and that's going to allow me to have the best result? Or is there still party that's like, nah, let's go off the books, see what we can do?
I'm honestly just really excited to race in Kona. It's been a bucket list race for me to race in Kona, and I'm just thrilled to have qualified and made the start list. So it's almost like it's my first race again. I think it's a new experience in a new location, and I'm not thinking at all about the points and putting pressure on myself. It's mainly about, can I execute the best race that I'm able to execute? Does it reflect the training that I've done going into the race? And I think that will be like a measure of success is, one, can I finish it? Two, do I feel, I guess, that it was a complete race from me across the swim, bike and run? And I think obviously just enjoying the atmosphere and taking it back to, the beginning of being able to do it and the joy of competing. And I think sometimes in professional sport, you can get a little bit away from that. But I think if I'm my happiest in life, I'm going to put down probably the best result on race day. So I think, I'm going to take that attitude and that mindset going into Kona.
Well, Grace, that was the right answer. You nailed that. That's the way to look at Kona, and I can tell already you're going to have a great day and an experience out there for sure. Is there anything? What do you think is like the most intimidating thing about Kona?
I think for me, it's the heat and humidity. I think historically, I haven't had the best races in those conditions, but I also haven't prepared as well for those conditions. So I think preparation is going to be key for that. But that probably is the scariest part of racing in Kona, is that, obviously we saw last year with two of the, with Taylor and Lucy being 1-2 and then dropping out, and anything could happen. And so I think just preparing for the conditions is going to hopefully help with that. But anything can happen on race day. So I think that's probably the scariest thing from my end. I did have a successful race in some hot and humid conditions last year, and I prepared pretty well for them. So I'm hoping to follow a similar pattern, hopefully. Yeah, I think I'm starting heat training this week, actually, in preparation for it. So it's a bit of a long game, but I think it's going to be worth it in the end.
And what does that look like for you? You putting the trainer in the bathroom with the shower on, or what's heat training look like for you?
It's varied a little bit, but usually hot baths, particularly after runs. So, maybe run 3 times a week and then I'll jump in the bath straight after that. The protocol is, I think it's about 40 degrees Celsius and, about 30 minutes long. So I still have to kind of dial that in. But that's kind of something that we're playing with. I have historically done some sauna prep and some riding with layers on the trainer, but yeah, it probably looked like a combination of things with passive as well as active heat training. And I think the active will be on the trainer, but not so much in the shower with the shower, in the bathroom, the shower going. It will probably just be layered up with beanies and jumpers and see how my heart rate goes with that.
And all that is like the right stuff, and that's great stuff to do. But do you ever think like, what are we doing here? Right? Like you're like, it feels like a torture chamber, right? You're like, okay, I'll go run hard and then lay in a 40-degree bath because that's good for me.
Yeah, I think as triathletes, we're a sucker for punishment. So it's just a continuation of that.
That's amazing. I love it. Well, I think you're doing all the right things.
My sanity a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure during races and during those the bath sessions after workouts, the sauna sessions are, oh man, there's a period. I feel like sometimes you can get a sweet spot where it doesn't feel like torture, but oh man, those are absolutely brutal post workout.
Yeah. When I was preparing for one of my races, I was going to, it was in Australia, and I was going to a public sauna, and I don't really like talking to people in the sauna if I can avoid it. But I was trying to, like, in the last 10 minutes, strike up a conversation with someone purely so I didn't have to just count down the clock. I had someone to talk to distract me for the last 10 minutes.
People can be very annoying in the sauna. I know what the protocol I used to do was you would do it after a workout, but then you couldn't drink while you're in the sauna. And I always had this guy that was in there, and he'd have this big thing of ice water. And every like 2 minutes, he'd take a big gulp and he'd go, oh. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to murder you right now.
Yeah.
Not
be quiet.
That's awesome. Well, sweet. I'm excited for all the work you've done and the consistency that you've had, and continuing to see your name just get higher and higher up on the results. And I think I was similar to you when I saw it on Instagram that you're in the lead. I was like, that's awesome. There's a lot of us that love the way you handle yourself. So seeing you have the success that you've had is it's stoking us out. So we're happy to see it.
Thank you.
Awesome. So, okay, before I let you go, we're going to do kind of a quick Q&A. Kind of first thing that comes to your mind. Some will be fun, maybe some won't be that fun, but I will get to know you a little bit better. But easy ones first. Hardest training session.
Oh, probably swim with like 100s with short rest.
Brutal.
So like, I don't know, 3100s on a 120 cycle or something like that.
Like I said, the torture that we do to ourselves, I'd say the 3100s is up on the list for sure. Okay. Favorite training session?
I definitely love a long ride and a long run. I think just not having intensity and just going out there and enjoying the scenery, the nature, and being kind of in my own thoughts, or listening to a podcast or music. I don't know. I really enjoy the long stuff.
Sweet. Coffee. You doing that before every workout? Just in the morning? What's our coffee obsession level? I have to ask every Australian.
I am from Melbourne, so it's definitely a good question to ask me. I actually will only have 1 to 2 coffees a day, definitely before my first session, and then depending on what the session is, whether I need another pick-me-up in the afternoon. Otherwise, it will just be 1 for the day.
Okay, and follow up, better coffee, Australia or US?
That's not even a question. Definitely Australia.
The flat white, yep. You guys
The
do have it.
flat
I will
white,
say I never drank coffee until I did 3 months training in Australia, and I left a changed man for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll do it to you.
It will, for sure. It is great. Biggest gear obsession?
Probably my bike, I guess. I've been on that search for the bike that fits, and I finally found it, and I'm just dialing it in now.
Sweet. If you had one athlete in any discipline, doesn't have to be a triathlete, but it can be, that you could train with for one day, what athlete would that be?
Ooh, I feel like it would be fun to train with Lucy Charles. I think I think she's a really cool person, and I think that it would be cool to see how, one of the top in the sports is really, preparing for workouts and what their workouts are. I think that would be really fun.
That's sweet. And she is a professional, right? Like she's dialed. So yeah, I think that's a good one, and a great human too. That. So makes it easy. Mm-hmm. Okay. What's one of the biggest misconceptions about professional triathletes?
Probably that we don't all get up at 5 a.m. to train. I don't know if that's a misconception, but I feel like maybe that's with just triathletes in general. Everyone's on the early morning grind, and they're going to squad training at 5 a.m. and that's not for me. If I can start my first session before 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., that's a good day.
That's awesome. Have you ever tried, like, there was a period where I'm like, okay, I'm doing the 5 a.m. swim, and it's just like, it doesn't work. Like, so tired all the time. Brutal.
Yeah, I actually did 5 a.m. swims pre-COVID, and I realized after that, when COVID shut them down, how little sleep I was getting and how it was impacting my other workouts throughout the day. Right. And even the swims were not great. And so I think the sleep in definitely helped. And I did go back to some early morning swim training squads when I was back in Australia, but I kept it at only once to twice a week because I knew that it would impact my sleep and my other training if I went every day. So I'm not a morning person.
That's a good one. And you're not one of those that you're not doing like your last workout at dusk, are you?
I could be.
Yeah.
It depends. It depends. Yeah. In LA, the pool availability sometimes is a little bit difficult, and sometimes the only time to swim is between 7 and 9:30 p.m. So sometimes I just have to, eat an early dinner and then go swim afterwards and have a snack after. So, it's less than ideal, but I usually like to be done by dinner time.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Last one. If you could do one and only one for the rest of your life, swim, bike, or run?
Oh, definitely run.
I think I knew that answer.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm a runner through and through. I think, starting at the age of 6, running has been a big part of my life. So I couldn't let go of that.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much, Grace. I know it's, a long week you had last week, and that recovery is a challenge. So we appreciate you getting up and having a chat with me today.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
If you want to stay across all the latest in the Experience Oman Ironman Pro Series news, follow at Ironman Try on Instagram, and check out proseries.ironman.com for standings, athlete bios, episodes of A Fighting Chance, replays of all the races, and more. Of course, I also want to thank our presenting sponsor, Morton, for the official sports performance nutrition partner of the Ironman Global Series. Not only do they fuel the Ironman athletes out on course, but they fuel us here on the Ironman Insider. And if you like this conversation, please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast. And if you're on the trainer, you can watch it on the Ironman Triathlon YouTube channel as well. Thanks so much for joining us on the Ironman Insider podcast, presented by Morton, and be sure to keep an eye on this space for more great conversations as the season continues. I'm your host, Matt Lieto. Thanks so much for tuning in.